Hey, everybody. Welcome to the WODcast podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ifft. That's how I start every show. It's very generic. I wish I could do something more exciting. I don't care, though. I'm into simplicity. I got some weird light on me right now because of the sun. Oh, that's better. How's that? I'm going to come back here. That's the great thing about this mic stand, or this mic. Oh, I'm going to do it from back there. That you could know that if you're watching this on YouTube. If you go to our YouTube, you can watch every episode. It's exciting. You get to see facial expressions. You don't see those much with masks. No, I got to move up into this. That light's shining on me. Oh, that's brutal. I'm going to sit back here. Let's see how that works. Oh, no, I can't get away from this sun. There, I think. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Okay. Anyways, guys, we got a great episode this week. Very interesting. Talk to the CEO of UFC gyms. I don't know if you've seen the UFC gyms. I see them around all the time. I didn't realize how many there are. They've got hundreds of these places. And I do see them, and I always wondered what goes on in there. So I had the CEO of UFC gyms on, Adam Sedlack, and we had a really interesting conversation. You know, it's not a competition to what gym could be better or which is the best or where you should be. It's more of, we're all in the same pursuit to try to make people better and healthier. And even if you're selfish, you can look at it as though you want people to be healthier. So things like your healthcare costs will go down. Things like, you just won't be dealing with, stupid people that are in your way all the time because they're, and you'll have to take care of less people. That's why you should educate people and you should get people to get in shape so you have less shit to deal with. I do it for selfish reasons. No, I want to see you guys all be your best. Come on. Anyway, speaking of the best, this is the best podcast out there. You've only got 7 million options, and this is number one. What I want you guys to do, though, is join our Patreon. We are going down in Patreon. I don't know why we're giving away so many Myopuxes and Leopard Paws. How could you not be donating to this show? It's $5 a month. I mean, it's like, that's the least you can do to just keep this thing rolling. It pays my bills. We got Ernie on the paycheck who does all the engineering, all the sound editing. We've got Mike on the paycheck, payroll, I'm sorry. Sound like an idiot. Mike's on the payroll who does all the YouTube clips and all the Instagram clips. That's it. We've got my wife. Oh, we've got Brianna, who's head of sales. We got a lot, there's a lot of overhead. Help out. It's $5 a month. That's it. It's practically $1 an episode. I think it's $1.25. Inflation. $1.25 an episode. You get all these great episodes, and you get in a drawing to win a Myopux, which is an electronic muscle stimulator. If you don't know what that is, you haven't listened to this show enough. An electronic muscle stimulator is how do I explain it? It's a device you put pads on. It runs remotely. You got a little it works through like Bluetooth, and you got a little thing in your hand like an iPhone that you set it, and it sends electronic muscle signals into your muscles that make them twitch. I'm doing it on YouTube. It'll go like boom, 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 boom. What's the purpose of that? Brings blood there. How do you think the inflammatory process, which is your rehabilitative process, works? You have an injury. Blood goes to the injury and brings new proteins that repair the injury, and then it flushes out through the lymphatic system. Well, guess what? This speeds it up. So if you're injured and you want to get better, you should have one of these. And I promise you that it will speed up your rehabilitation. We also give away a thing called the Leopard Paw. The Leopard Paw is a thing that you use to scrape adhesions. Adhesions are little clumps and messes that happen in your fascia between your skin and your muscle that when you have an injury, they impede blood flow. This gets that blood flowing again. It's a great company. My buddy Troy runs it. He's been so giving to the show to donate these. And I hope everybody out there goes to like WODcast or wherever and buys these. They're available there too. It's just, they're wonderful products. And Troy is a great guy. He's been such a great supporter of the show. Our winner this week, let's see who it is. Who is our winner? Every week we have a winner. Every week we have a winner. I've had a bunch of people donate, but I think we've had a bunch of people pull out. Now, if you donated and then you pulled out, that was really not a nice thing to do. You know, after supporting for all this time, you know, maybe I should recognize the people that have supported for the longest times. The people like the Jeremy Lesniaks and the John Wares. Yeah, let me see. I had a winner picked. This always happens when I want to go. I'm like, where's that new? Oh, because I'm not looking in the right place. Now I'm looking. All right. Where are you? Aaron Jepson, you are wondering where yours is. I don't know. I'm going to hit Troy up today and find out where yours is. Anyone else that's having trouble that has not received theirs, please message us at WODcastpodcast@yahoo.com, and we'll make sure we get it right out to you. And that also goes for anybody that gets is a winner. If you're a winner, like Dennis Bradford that won and sent me the message, we will get it out to you. Dennis, you don't have to do anything. I just connect you to Troy. He'll tell you exactly what to do. Stephen Rigby, you are a winner. Troy will be talking with all of you guys shortly. Because of the shipping problems coming from where, sometimes we're a little slow on these. But Matthew Hussey was our winner last week. And our new winner this week, Matt Garcia. Congratulations, Matt Garcia. You won yourself a Maya Pucks and a Leopard Paw, and I appreciate your donation. If anyone wants to come see me live, doing stand-up comedy, that's what I do. I'm a professional stand-up comedian. If you want to come see me do it, you got to come out. This week I'm off, going to the daddy-daughter dance with my little daughter. Next week, I'm in Chicago at Zany's, Rosemont, 17th of February. 18th of February, I'm in Rosemont. 19th of February, Saturday night, I will be downtown Chicago at Zany's, one of my favorite clubs in the whole world. And then on the 20th, which is Sunday night, I'll be in Milwaukee. It's a Sunday night. I need every CrossFit gym in Milwaukee to bring every member to the club. Mask mandates are going away. It's time to party, people. Come out. Don't be afraid of Corona Light. Omicron, we're going to beat this shit. Then I'm going away for a little bit, going to Costa Rica, people. Ventura Comedy Club, 18th and 19th of March. Las Vegas, I'll be at the Comedy Cellar, 21st to the 27th of March. And then, let's see, Steamboat Springs, I'll be there the 8th and 9th of April. Denver Improv. Vail, Colorado, 13th, 14th of April. 15th, 16th, Denver Improv. 21st, 22nd, 23rd of April, I'm in St. Louis. And then I'm back in Las Vegas again, May 2nd to May 8th. And then Rooster Teeth Feathers, the 19th to 22nd. Then it looks like I'm going to be in San Francisco, Seattle. Check out all my dates at eddieift.com. eddieift.com. All my dates are there. And so I think that brings us to the episode. If you guys want to help out the show and you don't Patreon, by the way, go to Apple iTunes and rate, review, comment. You just rate. Like, you can give it 1 to 5 stars. I'd hope you'd give us 5. You can review. You can go, wow, this is the greatest show in the world. Eddie is my favorite person. I love him. I want to sleep with him. No, don't say that. But, like, say something nice. And then, yeah, that's your comment. And then that helps the show. It promotes the show. Trust me, it really works. What else could you do? I don't know. You could be a really good fan. Like I don't consider you guys fans. You're more like friends. I went skiing this week with a guy that listens to the show. I felt like he knew everything. We called Bobby from the chairlift, Crazy Bobby. He knew everything about the show. He was an awesome dude. 99% of the time when I meet someone that listens to the show, you're one of the coolest people ever, and it's like hanging out with one of my best friends. So don't be afraid to send me a message and say, hey, you're coming to town. Come by my gym, or we're going to bring the guys from the gym to your show, or vice versa. It's always fun for me. And I'm always up for cool shit when I come to your town. So if you're like, hey, we want to go off-roading. Hey, we want to mountain bike. Hey, we want to do this. That's what I like to do, and that's why I like the show, because it brings me and the people like me together. If you're listening, you're into fitness, you're into CrossFit, you're into eating well, it's the coolest thing in the world. It's like I found my friends. Maybe it's called community. All right, let's get this show started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get I hate that song. Yeah, so I don't know what to say about this episode other than we had a really interesting episode talking all about what it's like to have a franchise, and the difference between a CrossFit gym and something like a UFC gym. Adam was a really cool guy, really nice guy, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. So with Adam Sedlack, CEO of UFC gyms. You got one of those headphones that looks like you're air traffic controlling.
Yeah, I was trying to use my monitor speakers, but I could never get the volume loud enough. And as a result, the conversations never went right. So I said, you know what, let me invest in some speakers.
I like that setup, and I wish I used that, because this bulky thing in my face, but this is the best microphone there is. It like, the sound is great, and the majority of my audience listens and doesn't watch. But you would think it's 2022 and that we would have a much better like setup that just, we don't need to use these headphones, but we do.
Well, I'd like to find a microphone that can lower my voice, just a little bit, but I have yet to find that so far.
You have a very deep, like if you were a musician, you'd be that like Joe Walsh kind of guy.
That's right.
Yeah. It's to each his own. Like whatever. I'm always amazed by how musicians use whatever they have to make it happen, and it works. Like the range that's out there of voices. So when people say I hate my voice, I'm always like, why? Why do you hate it?
I mean, what musicians have is they have authenticity, right? So they're so true to themselves and they own it, and that's what people love, is confidence.
Yeah, people do love confidence. Colin Quinn used to have a great joke about women don't love money and power. Women love confidence. He goes, there could be a guy standing in a pile of shit. And he goes, and he's in there and he's going,
if he owns it.
Yeah, he's like, look at me. Yep. I'm in a pile of shit right now. Yep. Every woman in there is be like, who's that guy?
I wish I would have knew that in high school.
Yeah, me too. It only took me till I was 40 to get married. So Adam, tell me what's going on. You guys are you're the CEO. You're the big guy, huh?
Yes, sir.
Did you create this?
I don't want to take all the credit. Listen, first of all, the UFC athlete by themselves was a huge example of how people should train and how we should create gyms around how people train. And then we had some incredible fitness experts that were with me, from the Fertittas and Dana White to Mark Mastroff, Jim Rowley, Mike Feeney, who, Mark was the founder of 24 Hour Fitness, sold it in 2005. And so his prior executive team was incredibly supportive in helping develop this entity.
Well, you guys, I mean, when you get those guys, like a guy that's been through it, that owned and ran 24 Hour Fitness, they do have some pretty good experience. That's the kind of stuff I'm involved in, a ton of like startups and ventures to try to make, and mine usually go nowhere. And I often look at it because I shy away from guys like that.
Yeah.
Because not because they're successful, but because I can't handle the mundane corporate speak. Like the guys that know the shit and sit down and talk about the accounting and the numbers and I'm just like, why am I here? And so I'm just like, I'm an idea guy, and then I want to run away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what you got to do though is just surround yourself with the right people that can help filter the corporate, you know, garbage of, if you will, to help you get to the end destination, right? Because if you're you seem to me like a very authentic, sincere person that has some really good thoughts in your mind. It's how do you get that on paper and how do you make that a reality? And you really need, Mark, as an example, Mark Mastroff is as genuine and as humble of a guy as you could imagine. You would never know that the guy owns an airplane, used to own the Sacramento Kings, used to own 24-hour fitness. He's like a guy that you'd want to have a beer with, and he's able to simplify everything that you want to do from a strategy perspective and help you execute on it. So there's people out there that can relate and connect to you if you give them a shot.
Well, I've used a couple guys. I live in Malibu, so I've got all these crazy, successful friends, and
Yep.
I've used a couple of them as mentors on projects. And one of them was the CEO of a huge beer company. And I remember when I would talk to him, all of a sudden he'd just start like talking number, and my eyes would just start, doing the like, and I'm like, wow, why did I even go down this road? I tell dick jokes for a living.
Well, you're a value proposition guy, right? And the world needs value proposition people, because without that, we have nothing to sell. We have nothing to market. We have nothing to promote. And so, don't underestimate what you bring to the table, because it sounds like it's incredible.
Explain to me value proposition, because even that is words that I've never put together.
Yeah, I mean, what do you like to do? What's your favorite thing to do?
Probably surfing or ski. I mean, other than comedy, surfing or skiing.
Okay, what's the best surfboard?
Um, Probably Slater boards now.
Why?
Just because Kelly Slater has the most experience in the world, and and the best surfer ever, and would only go for the best, and make sure he brought in the best. He brought in the best shapers.
There's the value proposition, right? And so it's no different than what you do. You're great at it. You're authentic of what you do, and you have a great value proposition. What you need is to have people around you that can scale it, that can copy it, create content off of it, and help you with distribution, and then help you monetize it. And then you're in a great place.
So, are you located in Las Vegas?
No, we have a couple gyms in Las Vegas. UFC has their headquarters there. We're in Newport Beach.
Oh, nice. You're right around the corner from me.
Where are you at?
I'm up in Malibu, right up in the hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Newport's great. And do you have gyms in Newport?
We have them in the surrounding areas. I think we have 4 in Orange County, and then there's another 8 in LA County.
So when did you guys start? How many years ago?
2009.
2009. January. And then do you own all the franchises, or do you sell them off, or what is it?
We own or operate 32,
uh-huh.
and then the rest of them globally are franchised out.
Okay. I'm so familiar with the CrossFit model because I've been involved for 12 years, and it's, they do their affiliate model, and they've had their ups and downs. And right now, they're kind of in flux. We're wondering where it's moving, where it's going. Seems to be some turmoil in the ranks. There was it seems that way. They're going to say it's not, but the CEO just stepped down to become on the board, and after the removal of one of the top dogs who ran the CrossFit Games, which is a very successful entity. And, on paper, they say one thing, or on, their press releases, but, looking between the lines, maybe something else. And I'm just curious, from someone, and from your background of being a franchise person, the whole idea of CrossFit was, we're not going to franchise, we're going to affiliate. But I've seen that work and not work in something like network marketing. And I always wondered why CrossFit didn't, I used to hear Greg Glassman say why he didn't. But the franchise model, to me, seems like a better way to do it. I mean, here's what I'm trying to get to, because this could be like the crux of a big thing that's going on right now.
Mhm.
I've seen like I think Whole Foods doesn't sell franchises. I think Whole Foods is all owned by Whole Foods. Is that true? Do you know that?
I don't know for sure, but I think so. I think you're right.
And I think they then maintain a lot of control of the
Hmm.
quality.
Hmm.
The affiliate model, the argument in CrossFit was that once you sell off these affiliates, these people can ruin the brand. And you can have an affiliate owner who's out there just running wild and really making it look bad. And by not being a good coach, not running a good gym, and doing shitty PR, and then that hurts the rest of the group. And then there's no kind of oversight. Can you tell me how you feel? Like, do you think that that's why a franchise model's better?
I let me talk about CrossFit first, if it's okay, and then I'll go
Sure,
right into the
sure.
franchise question. So, first of all, when we started UFC GYM, the respect I had for CrossFit's ability to create its own culture was amazing. This was back in 2008. Really, you could credit CrossFit as being the first boutique business in the fitness space. They did an incredible job with this cult following, and it was inspiring, and it was a hell of a workout. I think that some of the inefficiencies were the movements in some of the workout of the days weren't considered safe, and it created a lot of injuries. And you get people in there that maybe did not have the right level of fitness conditioning to participate in some of the movements, and they got hurt and they got injured. The affiliation model, there's some benefits on it from franchise law perspective, right? So you don't have to live with the same regulations that you do with franchising, but you lose a lot of compliance. So you're right in that point, is that I think there's something like you pay, I don't know what it was, $1,000 or $2,000 or something a year, and then you go through this affiliation process, and then you get identified with a lot of potential liability and risk of how you work with these independent CrossFit owners, and so it ends up creating a process where you have inconsistency in the brand position. And so if you, as an example, are a CrossFitter that owns a CrossFit gym, and you're more partial to deadlifts or whatever it might be, you're going to modify your workout of the day. You're going to build your gym a little bit differently. You're going to throw in your own movements that aren't regulated by the corporate. And so that could put you in a position of increased liability if somebody gets hurt. And so if you have brand inconsistency and you have a value proposition, like I talked about before, that's a little bit all over the place, it can end up hurting the brand as a global organization. They still were able, though. I mean, I think your point is a good one on the CrossFit Games, because the PR engine and the amount of content that's created from CrossFit, has been incredible over the last 15 years. And I think that they're still in a position that through proper navigation can be truly relevant in the space.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, they hit at the time when social media was starting, and there was this place for people wanting to show their workouts. And that was the whole idea of it in the beginning was, hey, put yourself on film, show everybody else, share what you're doing. And CrossFit benefited from sharing of content. And they didn't even need to they did have CrossFit Media, but for a while, it was just people doing it themselves. And then CrossFit Media assisted. And once it got going, it caught like wildfire. And then they pulled back and at one point got rid of everybody in CrossFit Media because they were like, why do we have all this overhead? We have this giant media staff. And, I had very good friends there that worked in it. And they fired everybody and thought, this thing runs on its own. Why do we need to contribute to it? And then the CrossFit Games, I think that was initially where all this, I've seen it go through a bunch of evolutions. And I think what happened was the CrossFit Games was another one that, why are we spending so much money on something that fractures the business. You had two businesses. You had one where soccer moms can come in and do it, and then you had one that is meant for fire breathers, these guys that are just monsters. And what happens is the monsters are coming into the gym, and you've got the soccer moms there that are trying to do what they're doing. And then, you can have the greatest coaches in the world and the greatest technique, but when somebody's ego gets away from them, they start injuring themselves. I mean, I was at a CrossFit gym today, and I knew, my ego, I've done it for so long. I'm like, don't push this. And sure enough, a guy runs past me, and I'm like, I got to beat this fucking guy. I'm like, I know this is going to get me to the point where I could injure myself, but I'm like, I just can't let this guy beat me. So I think it's more of not CrossFit's problem, or CrossFit's maybe it's the model, because it always was set up as almost you're competing against other people, even though you're not technically. In your head, you are. Someone just ran past you. Happens to anybody that's out on a run. I used to run along the beach all the time. Somebody runs past me, and I look at them, and I'm like, what? You just passed me? No. And then you're like, I got to push it. So it helps it. It inspires people to get better and do better. I mean, I'm in 1,000 times better shape at a gym than I am working out at home. Mm-hmm. But I run the risk of hurting myself because I push too hard. So, and when it comes to injury, I don't like to take the party line, or the corporate line. CrossFit has had lawsuits where they've defended themselves and said, we do not cause injury. Other sports cause injury way more than us, blah, blah, blah. I think there's injury. This is just my personal belief. I'm not out there making a statement. I don't want to get sued for this. But in my humble opinion, I think there's many things in there done improperly can hurt you. Now, should you have good coaching? Do you have good yes, and I mean, sometimes it gets away from you, and sometimes, like I said, you start pushing too hard, and you do movement improperly, and then you're running the risk of injury. So yes, that does exist. It's in a weird place right now.
What lured you to cross? Like, what do you like about CrossFit workouts?
So I probably would have been a UFC type guy. Mm-hmm. Except for the fact, because I always wanted to take martial arts, and I always wanted to, but I just didn't. And now at this point, I'm like, I still sort of want to do MMA or not MMA, jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And I've worked out at CrossFit / MMA gyms, and I think it's great. And I think the conditioning of an MMA athlete is on par with a CrossFit athlete when it comes to conditioning alone. Then you've got that whole other entity of, where these guys also have the fighting ability. So it's like they're taking their sport plus the conditioning of CrossFit and putting them together. And I saw once a video, somebody can dig it up on YouTube, where somewhere they had James Fitzgerald, who was the winner of the first CrossFit Games, do it was a fitness competition. And I think it was some kind of thing that UFC does to see, like how conditioned an athlete is. Mm-hmm. And James Fitzgerald, who was a freak of nature, got his butt kicked. And granted, it was also a competition that MMA guys train for. So it was in their wheelhouse and maybe not in his, but being the fittest man in the world, and he was, maybe a few years out of his prime, it was just funny to watch. And everybody knows that, though. Everybody knows that that MMA athletes are, up there as the fittest people in the world.
Well, it's interesting that you bring this up, because I look at it as a fitness funnel, right? So the way that we developed these UFC gyms, the bigger signature clubs are 40,000 square feet. So they're big gyms, and they have group fitness, and they have, Zumba classes, and they have treadmills and free weights and machines and CrossFit type of classes that we call daily ultimate training, which is spirited off of the workout of the day. We have boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. We have all these different types of classes. But what we figured out is exactly what you're pointing out, which is that high level of expertise, that high level of fitness conditioning, both physically and mentally, man, those are rare people. Those are the top
Yeah, yeah.
3-5%, right?
Tip of the spear.
Yeah, they're aspirational. And we figured out early that we don't want a lot of injuries, that we want to put people at their own pace. And sometimes they don't even want to take a class. Sometimes it's just getting on a treadmill for 20 minutes. And that's where somebody's starting because they're obese and they're 100 pounds overweight. They have no energy, no stamina. If you threw them in a HIIT style class, could you imagine what could happen to them if they tried to compete at the level that you're trying to compete at? And so I think you have to think about that funnel, and you have to earn the right to increase your intensity levels. But every part of that funnel, the consumer needs to feel that they're accomplishing something. The consumer needs to feel they're part of the competition, that they're in that same overall funnel with that elite athlete. And if you can do that, now you create a community that's all together. Everybody has their own personal best version of who they are, but it's at different levels, and they support and inspire one another. So I think that CrossFit was the ultimate destination. I think what sometimes got lost was the journey of how you get to that destination. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's I think though, and I've said this a lot, and people might criticize me this because there's a lot of affiliate owners that listen to this.
Yep.
I think CrossFit lost its way a little bit, and what happened was when people started criticizing the injury aspect, they didn't do enough. I mean, they did. They fought and fought and fought, but it didn't do enough to combat the bad PR. And when I say bad PR, I really truly believe that if I walked down the street and surveyed 10 people, 10 randoms, said, do you know anything about CrossFit? Of those 10, 5 might say, oh, those crazy guys on ESPN that do those competitions that are like the most fit guys. But the other 5 might go, oh yeah, I have a friend that did that. They got hurt. And when they went to kind of, separate the games from CrossFit and try to head off that issue, I think it was too little too late. And I think when you've done that massive damage, around the world, that's just the way people think. And, I'm not involved in the inner workings, and I don't have any friends there, so I don't know what their goals are now. I've had Eric Rosa, the CEO, on here. Maybe that's why they pursue international, and the PR it doesn't have that. But I just think it's an uphill battle here now, and I don't know where the future of this model is. I think it's a great thing. I think it's wonderful. I hope it works out. I hope it continues to grow. I think it's done an amazing thing for fitness. I think it's gotten people back into gyms, and people using all aspects of, things that were antiquated are now in play again, that never were. Olympic weightlifting's had a resurgence due to it. Older people are jumping rope and throwing around medicine balls and doing things that were never done. And now it's becoming commonplace everywhere. And I think, all these other gyms kind of took aspects of it too. I'm not saying CrossFit was like, created the medicine ball, but other gyms, took ideas from CrossFit and continued with it.
Your point is dead on, is that CrossFit brought innovation to fitness and the boutique vibe of what makes boutique fitness unique before boutiques were in place. And so what they nailed was, as I talked about before, was the community. What they nailed was aspirational fitness. What they nailed, to your point, was the social media portion of this. And so there's a lot of things that they were able to accomplish, especially during the prime of that organization. I don't think they're dead. I think there's enough room for them to continue to come back and be more relevant in the industry. It's just a lot more competitive. It's you have in the boutique space now, let's just call boutique anything under 7,000 square feet. You have so many different players now that are involved, that are all biting into that consumer, right? Because there's a specific consumer, I call it a neo consumer. There's a specific consumer that wants that particular environment. And so it used to be, it was just CrossFit. Now you have 30 different people out there that are going after that same person.
Sure. The F45s and the Orange Theories and base camps. I've seen
Barry's.
Yeah. Oh, Barry's boot camp. Yeah. And I think they're all great. I mean, anything that's getting people off their butt and working out. I don't know. I have a whole story what brought me to CrossFit, and I just kind of, it all stemmed from a relative that was a Navy SEAL that I said, what do you do to work out? And he told me, and I went, oh, okay. And he was like, do this. And he started kind of giving me workouts. And then it led to the Navy SEAL website, which then pushed me towards CrossFit. And I was a big Globo Gym guy, but I was a small guy, and I never wanted to get big. There was never this feeling that I want to be. I looked at that as a detriment. I've always, it's funny, I just listened to on tape Sebastian Junger's book, Freedom, where he discusses, is it better to like have the brawn or be quick and mobile? And I always saw quick and mobile as the advantage, in a fight. And the faster you can move and the more you can, my way of fighting as a kid has always been run, like get away and live for another day. And, but also if you square off, be able to handle yourself, like have that ability. And I just never really had the ability. I'd lose most of the fights. So that's why I got good at the quickness. But, in a situation, if you're thinking like apocalyptically, like, is a big guy going to be able to get away from the problem? Or they're going to have to fight their way out when I'm 10 miles away? And so I looked at like something like a Navy SEAL. They're not carrying around all this body weight. They're all kind of small guys like me, but they're, 10,000 times stronger and tougher than I am. So I was like, whatever they're doing, that's what I want to do. And there were a lot of them at the time going that way. Now I think, I don't know, if I was a young kid right now, I'd want to learn MMA. And so I'm going to start going to an MMA gym and working out and training. But that's only one aspect, like the conditioning. Where are you going to get your conditioning? And there were a few guys that would do both back in the day. And you would see a couple really good MMA fighters that used CrossFit for their conditioning. I don't see that so much anymore. I think it's more sports specific. And I think there's probably a better way for those guys to train than CrossFit. Like there's just probably so many aspects of CrossFit that are a waste for them that's unnecessary. So they just go way more specific with their training.
Well, think about it a little bit differently, right? It's not either or. It could be an integration. And so if you look at the best UFC athletes in the world, let's just take somebody like George St. Pierre. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
Okay. So his conditioning arguably he was the most conditioned fighter from a fitness perspective. But when he prepared for a fight, right, you have 10 to 12 coaches, and those coaches are all designed to get George to be his most confident self as he enters into the octagon, right? So you have a nutritionalist, you have a shrink, you have a BJJ coach, a boxing coach, a Muay Thai, you have all these different disciplines where these special coaches are only focused on an athlete becoming great. And performance is such a big piece of that, because if you don't have the fitness enthusiasm, the fitness spirit, the fitness heart, even though mentally you're in a very confident place, your body has to be in position to be able to take that on. And what CrossFit did so well, and I think what other brands, listen, UFC, we have an incredible conditioning / HIT daily ultimate training program that's patterned off of CrossFit to a certain degree. What it did so well is it took functional movement made it entertaining and fun to train, and it got people in the best shape of their life. And so it's a requirement at that level to make sure that you have extreme fitness conditioning. And so I would say that the elements of CrossFit, although you can't really trademark a kettlebell swing, right? Yeah. They can't say it's a CrossFit thing,
right?
But let's face it, when CrossFit launched, they really launched kettlebell swings, right? And so the elements and characteristics of what's great about CrossFit is still felt now across the entire fitness infrastructure. So whether you're in a traditional, even a transactional club like Planet Fitness, which is $10 a month with no emotion attached to it, they have kettlebells and they do CrossFit swings. And so parts of the elements of CrossFit are felt even in that type of an arena.
Yeah, it's funny you say these guys have, they've got their mental coach, they've got their boxing coach, they've got their BJJ coach. CrossFitters are like that too, where, they've got their gymnastics coach, they might have their cardio coach, they've got their Olympic weightlifting coach. And there are some guys, especially top level guys that go out there and get that many people to help them out. And I find it funny because it's like, here they are doing all of that to get to this conditioning level. Then you take an MMA fighter and they're at that conditioning level. Then add on top of it boxing and I don't understand. And I watch these guys fight and I'm just so amazed at the level of technique and the level of strategy when they're fighting. And I know that their level of conditioning is up there too. They're at the top of everything they're doing. I know what it takes to get to that level of conditioning. I don't have it. I'm not going to do it. And it just amazes me that anyone will go to that level just in that one aspect, let alone 5 other things, whether it be judo or wrestling the only thing I can think of is that it's periods of their life where they kind of master judo or master karate or master wrestling and then kind of say, I've got this in my wheelhouse now. I'm pretty damn good at this and I've learned all aspects of it. Now I'm moving on, and I'm just going to train now. So that's the only way I see it. But I don't understand when a kid is 20 years old and he's doing it and you're like, wait, how long have you been training for this? And you've got this?
Well, it's amazing when we first started the UFC gym concept, we did our first club in Concord, California. And nice club, 38,000 square feet. Incredible. The results that we achieved were fantastic. But I was very familiar as a ex-athlete. I was very familiar with traditional sports and to a certain degree, a little bit of CrossFit. And I remember the first day as we were getting ready to open the gym, I walked by the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu area. And the head coach at that time was about 5'1" if he's wearing heels and weighed about 90 pounds soaking wet. And I'm 6'5", 240. And so, and 10 years younger at that point, by the way. So in pretty good shape. And I used to walk by and he would invite me in to his mat area because he owned that. That was his space, right? It was his. And he would invite me in and say, come in and train with me. And I would just wave him off. I really had no interest at that point because I didn't understand it in jiu-jitsu. And I kept on seeing him. And then I said, I don't want to hurt you, man. I need you. Like, you're an important part of our brand. I'm more than double your size and I just don't want to, do that to you. And then finally I had the entire team around me and he had a bunch of people in there and he called me out and he said, come on one time. So now my ego goes into play, right? You know how that can be.
Oh yeah.
Similar to your CrossFit story. And so I jump in there and I say, okay, let's do this. How does this work? And he goes, Adam, he's Brazilian. He goes, Adam, you get me in any position you want, whatever you want to do. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to leverage my weight and I'm going to leverage the mass that I had at the time. And I'm just going to put all my weight on him and he's not going to be able to do a damn thing. So I hogtied him. I put him face down on the mat. His feet and his hands behind him, put all my weight on him, all my weight that I could possibly put on him. And I was holding him in one place. And then, of course, the arrogant part of me started talking a little bit of shit, right?
Yeah.
Just saying,
Yeah.
hey, don't make me hurt you. Who's your daddy? All these things, right? And he just starts slowly, like a boat, just slowly moving back and forth, right? And I started singing the Love Boat, or I can't remember what I did, but I was letting him have it. And all of a sudden, he did this jerk motion, right? This slight jerk motion where I lost my balance. And I put my hand on the mat to catch my balance. 11 seconds later, I tapped out.
Ah.
So he was able to take my hand, somehow use my own weight and leverage against me, spin me around, deal with my strength. He ricocheted my strength back against me and put me in a position that I could not move. And I was forced to tap out. And at that point, I was so blown away by the power of your mind and the power of your brain and mental discipline and the ability to understand. And it's almost like an intersection with emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Being very aware of your surroundings. And it amazed me. And from that point on, I had such a respect for jiu-jitsu and those that are experts in that space, because they may look like a normal person, but they are the baddest mother F's on planet Earth. I mean, they are incredible.
It really is. It amazes me too. And that it's constantly evolving. I play chess, and I've played literally like 14,000 games of chess, and I'm still an average player. And I don't get into, I'm probably bad because I don't practice. Like I don't do the there's like training you can do, and you can read books on it, and you can study it. I don't study it. I just play. I'm like a guy that never took a BJJ class and just kept going in and wrestling and wondering why I tap out every time.
Do you have patience?
Not really.
I don't know how you play chess without patience.
Okay, so I play speed chess. I play 1 minute aside. So I like the speed aspect of it, because sometimes it's not about how if you can make the perfect move, is can you make a good move under pressure? And so I like that. I just like being done with the game in 2 minutes. But there's guys that play a completely different way. It's funny, you see what country they're from, and the Indians play a certain way that it's almost like a defensive way, where they're trying to just get you to run out of time. They're not trying to checkmate you. They're just kind of running away from you. And sometimes you're just playing a far superior game than them, but they win. And they win, and you get so frustrated, you go, hey, let's rematch. They never rematch. I mean, it's so funny and stereotypical, and people would be like, you can't stereotype, or you can't. Yeah, I can't, because I've played 14,000 games, and I know 95% of the time when I click rematch with an Indian, they're like someone from India, they're saying no. Like they will not, they'll decline and not. But other nationalities might rematch you. But
when you played those of the Indian culture, did you play the speed round, or did you play the regular?
Play the speed round.
And they still beat you in the speed round.
Well, they play a style. I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And when they do beat me, I ask for a rematch. But what I was getting to about this, I've always wanted to talk about that, because I find there's this whole culture that goes on there. And I like chess because I equate it to jiu-jitsu. And there are these guys at this 2100 level, or whatever master's level is, chess master, that are so good, and so thinking 4, 5, 6 moves ahead, and know where they're going and know where you're going, and just can combat anything. And when I watch jiu-jitsu and I hear the commentators explaining what they're doing or what they did, I'm like, this is like physical chess. This is, this guy knew to do this because he wants to get this, because then he's going to get that. And he also knows that he has this disadvantage, like you said. He might be not as strong, or he might be better conditioned. So there's so much to it that I find Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu incredible and interesting. I've always talked about UFC, and my statement has been, and I've gone to a couple matches, and I like it. I don't love it. I don't like the ground and pound. I just feel like it's so excessively violent, and I feel like you got the guy, you got them on the ground, you can tap them out, and that's kind of the art of it. I like boxing. I like boxing, but when you punch someone in the head, their head moves back. When it's on the ground, it's not going anywhere, and it just gets so excessive. And part of me likes the violence, like I'm a man. I like that.
You never turn away from a fight, right? You always got to see it. But if I told you that mixed martial arts UFC is safer than boxing, would you be surprised? Because really it is, because when you're boxing, you're focused on the head 80% of the time. When you're with mixed martial arts, it's a whole body, competition. And yes, you're right, there's ground and pound, but the referees are so good now that they 99% of the time call it at the right moment where there's not a serious injury. And if you look at the history of the UFC, nobody's died. And so they've done a pretty good job. Whereas boxing,
you're right,
have died.
Yeah, it's a good point. And, look, I'm talking out of my ass a lot with not knowing, and I've got a history of that myself. Boxing, what did I start watching that gave me a whole new respect for boxing too, about this. I've had a guy on here a bunch of times who's, won the silver medal and owns Box and Burn. And he's great, Tony Jeffries. And I didn't realize how strategic they are with boxing also. Growing up, you think it's just some guy's stronger, has better conditioning and just beats the shit out of the other guy. When it's like, oh my God, he's doing that. Then he wants to
footwork.
Just
body weight transfer.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
And the combinations, and then knowing this guy's letting this hand go like this, or he does this punch after this punch. So look, I have all the respect for them. I think I would have loved to do it. And still, I got a neighbor who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and keeps trying to get me to go. I really don't like rolling around with other men. I can't.
You know what's funny? I had the same thoughts in my head before I actually did it. And then and my wife, who is incredibly attractive, a professional figure competitor at the time, I was thought, okay, my wife wanted to do it too. And I'm like, do I want her going in and rolling around with men?
Yeah.
Because as a man, you know how we think.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. And when you walk in there, though, there's this respect, and all that goes away. You don't even think about it.
Sure.
The guys that were rolling with my wife, it wasn't even an issue. And when I'm rolling around with these guys, like you talked about earlier about mental chess, physical chess, it was the same feeling. It was like, it was more of a competition with the mind versus a competition of grinding on one body to the other. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Your mindset's different.
Yeah. I just, I think it's me being a bit of a germaphobe. I don't even like shaking hands with people. And I'm like, oh, now I'm going to have this guy sweat all over me. And, I played football and did all these sports, and it was just always like, football, even that, it was like, when you're at the bottom of a pile and you're like, oh God, you guys get off me. Like, and it wasn't a sexual thing. It was like, I just don't want your, like, you smell and you've got like gross sweat and it's all over me. But I really, and my other thing, I mean, like, for every other person, like, I've been encouraging my nephew, he's like 15 years old. I'm like, and he's done martial arts. I'm like, you need to start doing jiu-jitsu now. Like, do it. Like, every kid should be. I mean, it should be like mandatory. If you've got a child, I've forced my kids to do swimming and gymnastics to build their proprioception, build their cardiovascular fitness at a certain age. And my daughter's almost there. I mean, she's 7. She'll probably start next year. I want her in martial arts, and I will do it with my son too. And I think it's like, it should be the American way of life. I mean, just to make our kids, it's
so true.
It's just like they got to learn to read, write, learn math. This is an aspect that they should have to have. And,
and just to add on that, because I think that you hit on a very important point. With COVID, I've been on all sorts of committees and trying to understand how bodies deal with COVID. And they did a bunch of analysis on kids over the last couple of years and the impact psychologically COVID's had on them, whether it's a mask, whether it's seeing everything through visual or what have you. And life is becoming this two-dimensional world, right? Where mentally it's really impacted our youth. And when you look at physical, right? So how old are you?
I'm 50.
Okay. You look good for 50, man.
Thank
I would have
you.
never thought that. When you and I were growing up, because we're very close in age, we lived outside, right? We got ourselves in trouble outside. We played sports all the time outside. We hung out with our buddies too late at night outside. We went to parties. We did everything you could possibly imagine outside. Now, kids are being brought up in front of an iPad, inactivity, convenience food. When you and I grew up, there was one McDonald's here and there. Now there's a McDonald's in every corner, and it's cheaper food than eating good food. And so now what we've been doing for our kids is we've been putting bad food in their bodies. We've been having them sedentary, and we've been putting an iPad in front of them as entertainment, so they don't have to coexist with anybody. And it's really impacting their physical and mental skills. And so I like what you said, and it's one of the principles that we have at UFC is that we have to have a place where kids can train too. You can't just have adults train. When parents go to work out, the kids need to come with, and they have to have their own classes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, you got to do it, man, because otherwise, what are kids going to be in 20 years?
Then that's something that you have being a bigger gym over CrossFit. CrossFit does have CrossFit for kids, and they have kids classes, but it's like when I just thought about it, and my daughter said to me, she loves to do CrossFit with me. She said, I want to come with you when you go to the gym. And I was like, you can't, because, we work out. You don't, like, maybe you could go to a CrossFit for kids class, but you can't come. It's not big enough. Like if there was parents' gym going on at one place and kids, then it would work out. I'll tell you something else when you're talking about the kids sedentary and outside and eating bad food. I was just talking to my eye doctor, and I shouldn't talk because I have terrible eyesight. But he was telling me kids' eyesight is getting worse and worse because of all the computers. And just as a society, we have to start not imposing standards, but teaching better standards, which is saying, hey, you should only have your kids on this. More than 2 hours is detrimental, or more than this. I don't know what the numbers are, but I just think that it's not being the information's not being, just like COVID, the information's not coming, all the data is not coming from the CDC and the WHO and everything properly to the public, or we wouldn't be acting like we are, and all the school districts and counties and states wouldn't be acting like they are. If everybody,
but it's just going to get worse for the kids, because with the metaverse and billions in dollars are now being invested in the metaverse, right? It's just going to get worse and worse as time continues to go on, because we're not properly educating everybody with facts. Where you got the extreme right, you got the extreme left that are both giving their perspective and their slant, whereas the middle, which is the majority of us, by the way, the 90% of us that are in the middle that are just trying to live our lives and be fit and have fun, we don't understand what to believe. We don't know who to listen to, right? But it's because these extremists are so loud on both sides, it's putting everybody in a difficult position. With kids growing up now in front of an iPad, with the metaverse coming in, with blockchains and everything else, I'm fearful that we're going to lose a very important part of how somebody develops through their youth.
The vocal minority does control the space, the media space, and sensationalism. Everybody that's watching, a viewer, wants to see extreme. We're just having this discussion with someone. It's like, for as much as children are, the majority of children have a substandard physical ability or physicality or conditioning level compared to like us as children. The amount of progression at the tip of the spear is amazing. Like I grew up skiing and competing in skiing, and I skied all this week in Whistler, Blackcomb, with a younger fan of mine, friend who I got to be friends with him. He was just a fan of the show, and we got to be friends. And the guy's doing 540s off of things, and just jumping off every cliff at a level of skiing that we were never at, because he's able to use the internet and take it, learn from it quickly, and progress. And so there are benefits of it.
Well, I'd also say, though, that your friend, when you and I were coming up, we played every sport.
Sure.
Right. So, and we didn't have all these separate private leagues to become experts at specific sports modalities. Right. So we were well versed in everything. Nowadays, you identify a kid and you say, you're going to be a basketball player. So you're going to stick to basketball 365 days a year. And we're going to put you in advanced clinics, advanced coaching. You're going to get all of that until you're 17 years old. Then you're going to get drafted, or you're going to get attracted to a college, and then you're going to get drafted. So it's a business now.
Yeah.
Whereas when you and I were growing up, it was leisure and fun, and it was something to, have fun with. And so
every top person that I've talked to in coaching and anything from conditioning, it says that is the worst thing you can do with a kid too. They're like, don't specialize. Have your kid play every single sport. And I've read books on this because I love sports. I was involved in sports my whole life. I want my kids to like it. I want them to be good at it. I don't want to be that dad, that tries to make them be this top athlete, and unless they want to. Yep. And basically that's what the books everything I pared down is what they were all talking about. They're like, these kids that become top level athletes, they wanted it and they were obsessed by it, and they found an obsession for something, and you can cultivate that, but you can't push it. Like if you do, you're just going to have a bad relationship with your kid.
I agree.
So if they do lean towards something and have like I did, when I found out I was a runner, and when I found out I was good at track, like sprinting, I loved it. And I started working out on weekends and doing weight training on my own. And my parents were just like, yeah, do whatever you want. And I ended up in college but there was my parents didn't even have to send me to track camp. In fact, they tried to I got picked up by like a track club, and I remember my parents being like, wait, you're going to go away this weekend to a track meet? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, why? Like your friends are here, like have fun. Yep. And so, and it was the same with me with skiing, it was an obsession, and I didn't need my parents to push me there. And I think these parents that push, good luck, because I saw kids that were pushed.
It's sad because, let's face it, only 1% of us are going to make it to the level where you're going to be able to monetize it, right? To the degree that people monetize it. And so, I, as a kid, I'm with you 100%. I happen to be 6 inches taller than everybody. So basketball. was a natural extension. And then I would play it all the time, constantly. But I ended up figuring out that, as I look back on my sports time, is that I should have stuck with baseball. I'm a lefty. I was a pitcher. I should have stuck with that, because I realized later in life that I didn't have the right genetic code to be speedy and fast like you. I wasn't quick. I was slower, and I would have been a better baseball player, but I did it out of love. I played the sport out of love, not because I was forced to, not because it was a business model, not because there were strict accountabilities, because I really loved what I was doing. It wasn't something that I had to do. It was something that I wanted to do. And I think we're losing a little bit of that in today's world.
Yeah. And you probably missed out on volleyball too. You probably would have crushed that.
Yeah. We didn't have men's volleyball when I grew up at that point. Yeah.
It's funny, all these sports like that, where you just never think about it, or you never have
like horseshoes. I would have been great at horseshoes too.
Is that a sport for tall people? Because you can lean out farther?
A little bit closer to the peg. A little bit closer.
I never heard that. I never even thought of that. Are you good at horseshoes?
I gotta tell you, man, I'm pretty self-confident when it comes to throwing that horseshoe across the pit. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Same with, what's the game that everybody plays at like tailgate parties? Cornhole.
Yeah, I can do that game too. Yep, I'm learning. I'm actually building a set in my backyard right now just to dominate that sport.
So take me through a UFC gym. I'm going to change the subject. If I walked in the door to UFC gym, what's there?
Well, listen, we're completely different than any other gym that you'll see. I think, listen, we have an obligation. I don't look at gyms as competition anymore, which is why I have a respect for CrossFit and these other gyms, because we have a job to do together. Right now in the US, only 25% of the population is active and working out regularly, right? I think we need to double that. And we need everybody involved to be able to do that. And UFC Gym is not the least expensive club. It cost more money than the average club.
How much?
Because
what are you going to pay?
We range between $50 and $100 per month.
That's still cheap. That's
still
cheap.
Yeah. No, it's relatively inexpensive, but when you compare it to Planet Fitness, it's $10 a month, right? So people often default to that.
Not to criticize any gym, but Planet Fitness I hate. And it's the only gym I do hate. I like Anytime Fitness. Planet Fitness, there's no free, like you can't get a bar off the ground unless it's attached to something. It just feels like
you can't express your emotions.
It feels like it was built by helicopter moms.
It's great for beginners. So what it serves is the person that's never ever been in a gym before. It's a great beginning ground, and we actually enroll a ton of members from Planet Fitness because they get in there, and they realize that this thing doesn't have everything they need or want, and it doesn't motivate them to get to the next level. That's my opinion, of course. But so I look at those gyms as transactional gyms. There's a purpose for the low dollar gyms, is to get the funnel a little bit wider to get more customers in so people can work out and be more active. Well, we wanted to create this value proposition that started with a UFC athlete and how a UFC athlete trains. And then also take a look at what's best about traditional fitness clubs, like a 24-hour fitness, where they had a ton of equipment, a ton of group fitness classes, different modalities that the average consumer would like. Some of our clubs have basketball and pools, right? So we have a little bit of everything. And we came together and we established that intersection of what's great on how a UFC athlete trains and what's great about a traditional fitness club. We combined them together and we created UFC Gym. And so we can speak to all levels of fitness and conditioning. We can speak to all lifestyles. We have nutritional counseling. We have recovery. We put cryotherapy in so many of our gyms, compression therapy. We have $1 million in equipment in most of our gyms, and like I talked about earlier, from group fitness to cycling to all the MMA types of classes, kids can train at our gyms. The music's a little louder. And so if we're not Planet Fitness when it comes to music, if you walk into our gym, you're in a UFC gym because our beats per minute is going. It's fast, it's energetic, it's inspirational to try to match the fitness operating system. We have an octagon in a lot of our gyms, not to fight. You don't go into a UFC gym for a broken nose or breaking one of your teeth off. You go into a UFC gym to have that cool, inspiring, motivating experience that hopefully empowers you to train just a little bit harder at your own personal level to make sure that you can become the best possible version of yourself. And so I like to call it an incredible dynamic fitness community, a special group of team members that we have that are the best in the industry. I think, I know I'm a little partial to it, but I think that we got the best managers and team members in the industry, trainers and coaches. And when I take a look at our customers in all of our gyms, man, they are ambassadors of fitness, and they care about it. They care about each other. I was just involved with one of our members had a terrible accident in Maui, and the entire gym stopped what they were doing, and all they did was focus on that person. They fundraised for that person, and I think raised $10,000 instantaneously.
That's
so
great.
Those are the type of communities that we have in our gyms that all come together, work together through thick and thin to help people continue to stay on this road of fitness.
Now, are there fighting classes in there, and like all different kinds? I mean, can you go to like what would they be like? What are the
So it's more controlled sparring. We don't want anybody to get hurt.
Right.
We want people to be safe, and we are not competing against the specialized MMA gyms or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu studios.
Right.
We're complementing them. Right. So we're like the superstore of MMA. We have everything that you could possibly want. So we have classes like Fight Fit, but it's controlled sparring. It's not uncontrolled sparring where people beat the shit out of each other. Right. It's very disciplined. And we want it that way because we want women and children to be involved and feel safe inside the environment. And if you see two guys beating the crap out of each other, it really
it scares
takes the spirit away, right? So we have rules in place, and that's why we don't compete against. I mean, MMA gyms are unreal. Those guys are absolutely, and ladies are unreal, but they are trying to train fighters to be fighters. Right. We're trying to train you to become the best version of yourself. You have your own personal fight, right? Whatever that is. Maybe your personal fight is to learn jujitsu or learn how to box or whatever it might be, or just to be a better Zumba dancer. You look like a Zumba guy.
Yeah, totally.
And so whatever it is that we want to make sure that our coaches all work together to make sure that you find that best version of yourself.
So when you, you've got multiple locations, how many
I think we're at the 161 right now. We're opening a club a week. We're developing in 40 countries.
When you open a gym, do you build from ground up, or do you buy out other gyms like that have gone out of business or willing to sell? Is it that kind of thing too?
All of the above.
Okay.
But my obligation is to make sure that the real estate's good. It's an opportunity. We don't want to open a gym just to lose money, right? So you have to make sure, if you run through empathy and you drive through empathy and you intersect that with the common sense of decent real estate, you generally have a pretty good model.
Yeah. See, I've always had a dream when we started CrossFitting years ago. We thought, wouldn't it be great because there's all these aspects, CrossFit's over this broad domain, and you've got in games kind of competitions. They're mountain biking, they're swimming, they're running, rucksacking up hills. You name it. There's strongman aspect to it. There's Olympic weightlifting. And there was always this dream to create the ultimate CrossFit gym. And I've traveled the world, so I've seen a lot of gyms. And there's a couple that are, getting there, or just because of some advantage they had, where, there's a gym in Pittsburgh that's owned by a Pittsburgh Steeler that's a CrossFit gym. And they're on this property with all these trails, so they can do workouts on the trails. They've got a soccer field that's attached to it, an indoor soccer, so they can do sled running. That's amazing. Cool. And, a lot of like football players come there to train and stuff like that. So they've got really, really good Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting equipment. But I kept joking. I was like, when are you going to build the pool? Get the pool. Have the pool here because, it's an aspect of fitness and conditioning, and CrossFit's business model is kind of this box. It's small, don't need a lot of equipment, keep your costs low. Yep. It's all about the coaching, and I get it, but I also want to see one big mega gym that is like, and it's kind of like what you guys, you call it, you say you're in between boutique and Globo, but something more like what you're doing.
Yeah, I gotta, one of these days when you're ready, you got to come out and I'll host you we have a gym, I think in the South Bay in Torrance, or Oxnard. I don't know what gym's closest to you, but we should meet out there. I'll get a couple of coaches out there. Bring your kids with you too.
Yeah,
and I'll get a couple coaches, and I'll take you through the whole ecosystem of how we call it Train Different, but how we do things, because I think you would really enjoy it based on your past, kind of where you're at now in your life with your kids and everything else. I think you would really love it.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'm up in Oxnard a lot because I do shows up that way and I surf up there.
You let me know. What's your Instagram? I got to follow you on Instagram.
I'm at Eddie Ifft, EDDIEIFFT.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you let me know. Mine's CEO at UFC GYM. So I'll follow you on it, and you let me know when you're out. I'll take care of you and your kids. You guys do a whole workout. Check it out. Then in Oxnard, we have cryotherapy, we have the compression therapy, all those things.
Yeah. See, I love that you're doing that. I've always told, CrossFit gyms kind of do that, but it's more of under and I'm like, no, it should be, I've been to gyms where the one in Las Vegas where they have, they've got hypervolts on the wall that you walk over and just, here they are. I want to see everything encompassed. I always envisioned that, of having like, you have a chiropractor, a physical therapist next door or in-house. I mean, my gym that I used to work out in Venice had a physical therapy right upstairs, which was great. But I don't want to hold you long. I know you are an important man with lots of things to do. You gave your Instagram. Where else can people find out about about UFC gyms?
Yeah. So, I mean, everywhere digital, you know, in today's world, right? Isn't everybody on every channel, but it's UFCGym.com. And we also have a brand called UFC FIT, Class by UFC Gym, which is a boutique business. I'm on LinkedIn, Adam Sedlack, CEO UFC Gym on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all those things. So I love people, and I love talking to people and hearing, I love hearing your story of what you've gone through to where you're at today. I think it's what makes America so special and so great. So yeah, feel free to reach out, and love to talk to you. Love to have you guys try out our gyms.
I appreciate you doing the show. This was really fun. And very rarely do we talk to I talk to people outside the CrossFit space a lot, but not, and I don't consider you a competitor to CrossFit by any means, but I find the whole gym model very interesting. And no matter what it is, if it was 24-hour fitness or, it's real. And we're all going for the same thing. So, I do this show a lot. I always joke that, I tell dick jokes, but look, at the end of the day, I want to make people healthier and see them get healthier and better. I get very upset and sad when I see people ending up sick and unwell. So yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. But by the way, here's something I read the other day that's very interesting. I think you'll like this stat. It said that 95% of all diseases are avoidable if you see the doctor regularly and you eat right, you sleep right, and you stay fit. Think about that. 95% of all illnesses are avoidable. It's insane if you just take care of your body.
Oh. Well, let's end it on that. Thanks again, Adam. I really appreciate it. And check out Adam. Check out UFC Gyms. And you guys know what to do. Rate, review, comment, and check out all my live dates at eddieifft.com. There's a good chance I'm coming to your city because my wife just whips me and makes me get on planes.